So this is an update, and I'm raising the question, what's the best endorsing body now in 2024 if you're applying for the Innovator Founder visa? Now, I'd start by saying that if you've already been endorsed by a legacy endorsing body, it's usually best to just stick with them. Stay with the legacy endorsing body. They've endorsed you before, so they are likely, all being well, to endorse you again if you can show you've made significant achievements under your business plan. So I wouldn't recommend switching unless it's absolutely necessary. Now, I have had a couple of clients who've had a really bad experience with their legacy endorsing bodies and have switched, and I've helped them with that. But you have to start the whole process again. In that you have to start the whole justification process again. Plus, the Home Office will ask, well, why are you switching? What went on? And they'll apply an additional layer of scrutiny to you that would otherwise not be the case. And it's fine, you may be able to withstand that scrutiny, but generally it's best to stick with your endorsing body if you're switching. Now, but if you're applying for the first time for the Innovator Founder visa, then you've basically got four options. You can go directly with the government, or you can go with one of the three private endorsing bodies, if you like. Now, at the end of last year, the Home Office wasn't happy with the endorsing bodies, the private endorsing bodies, if you like, and wasn't happy with the acceptance rate, which was too high. The Home Office, were having to refuse people who'd got endorsements. So now it's changed up quite considerably, and I'd say the threshold has got a lot higher. So the endorsing bodies now are trying to get up their refusal rates, if you like, and I'm going to have some statistics on that soon, where I'll update you. But at the moment, the approaches by the four of them, so the government one and the three private ones, are very different. So there's different approaches by the Home Office, different tests that they apply, different processes and different timescales. Now, I know in theory this should all be the same and all be nicely aligned, but right now it's not. So as for different approaches by the Home Office, well, for one of the endorsing bodies, if you get an endorsement through them, then you'll definitely be interviewed by the Home Office. I mean actual, one-to-one interview, where they're asking, in the sense of asking questions live and you have to answer them. If you get endorsed by one of the other endorsing bodies, then you won't have that experience. You might get some written questions and answers, but you won't have that experience. And then with the third one, you usually won't get any written questions or interview. And I think that the endorsing body is one of the risk factors that the Home Office has. Now, it's clearly a bit easier for them to control before they made the mistake of having dozens of endorsing bodies, and it got too complicated for them. So in theory now it should all be aligned, but the reality is that the endorsing bodies are applying, certainly have been last year, applying different standards. It may be that all those approaches come into alignment this year, but at the moment they're still out of whack. And I think that the endorsement that you get is one of the things that the Home Office assessed in terms of a risk factor. So depending on their review of the endorsing body, they will have that as one risk factor they're taking into account in deciding whether to subject you to written questions or to an actual interview, live interview. And so that's the different approaches by the Home Office. Now, on the different tests, this is where it is unsatisfactory. Let's face it, the different tests that are being applied. So there's different. What I mean by tests is criteria. So in theory, again, it's all the same criteria, right? You have the immigration rules and they set out what the criteria are, and you have the guidance from the guidance issued by the Home Office to the endorsing bodies, and that confirms what the guidance is. So it couldn't be more straightforward. Really, I would say that's not correct. There's the different forms that are used to start with, which ask different things depending on where you apply. So you'll be asked different things, and the internal criteria against which they mark you are also different. And the point that I think is slightly unsatisfactory is that the forms and the templates that are recommended and so on don't actually align with the tests, the marking sheets, if you like, that they use internally to assess the business plan and assess you. And so, the tests are all different. Plus, if you get the endorsement and you get through that first stage and you get to the Home Office stage, the Home Office tests and the questions that the Home Office asks you are different and not in alignment with, at the very least, not in alignment with the points that have been asked by the endorsing body. So where I think it's moving towards is the endorsing bodies will be really hammering you on new tech and IP and gap analysis. And then you go through to the Home Office, and the Home Office will really hammer you much more on source of funds, where's the money coming from, and on you and your career history. And what you're doing right now is also very important from the Home Office's perspective. Is what you're about to do consistent with and a continuation of what you've been doing as a subject matter expert in a particular field. So I think that's where the sort of division of labour will end up, or the difference of emphasis will pan out during the course of this year. But you'll see dramatically different statistics and figures in terms of acceptance at the endorsement stage and acceptance at the Home Office stage. So for the rates are going to go way back to where they were at one point, which was like 50-50, with about half people being refused at endorsement stage, or more possibly. It may be more than half of people being refused at the endorsement stage, and then of those who are endorsed, you may have around half of those people getting through the Home Office stage for various reasons. And in previous videos, I've shown this the stats how they've gone up and down, but that's my prediction at any rate for how it's going to pan out this year. Different processes, and different timescales. So on the timescales are way out of whack depending on where you apply. I'd say that the longest timescale is through the government route, but for that, there needs to be a deal maker who recommends, and a panel looks at it. But to answer the question straight up, which is the best endorsing body for the Innovator Founder visa, I'd say, just caveat this a bit, that if you have a particular emphasis, for example, on ESG, then that might lead you in one direction to one endorsing body. They do each have specialisms or areas of interest. But I'd say that if you have an existing business, particularly a technology business, then the government's direct government endorsement, rather than one of the three endorsing bodies, is generally going to be the best approach, because you get the endorsement from a central government department itself, so they're not really going to be second guessing that at the Home Office stage. But if you have a particular interest in ESG, for example, that might lead to a different result. And of course, it depends on what sector you're in and what you're going to be doing. So I hope that's helpful. It should be interesting to see how these changes develop during the course of the year. And of course, I'll be giving updates, including on the stats. Thanks. Bye for now.